David Ellis Academy in Detroit is one charter school where I feel like this project, all the components of the project have really aligned to tell the story of how true change can happen. And the reason I say that is because from the very beginning, the school leader, Sylvia Green, believed in this as an effort to be able to bring her staff together and supported them to enact the ideas that we were proposing in our professional development. I think also pivotal in that school story is Rhonda Todd, the original PLC leader there. She was a fourth grade teacher who began to embrace the ideas of discussion-based teaching, transformed her teaching, and then just began to just spread the word in her building, showing people like Amanda, who was resistant to the ideas and said, "This is not for me. I don't want anything to do with this discussion-based teaching. I'm doing just fine," which is what most veterans say. And Rhonda came into her class, taught her kids, and had let her see, this is the potential. This is what your kids can actually do.
When I first heard about the push for the discussion-based teaching, I have to admit I was definitely not thrilled. It took me a couple years to really get around to it. Ms. Todd, our PLC leader, was really passionate about it and kept talking about how it's going to be wonderful and it can do this and it'll change your classroom. And I was one of those people that sat back and said, it's just kind of the flavor of the month. The next thing will come along before I even start. A lot of work, not doing it. My class is working fine. And through the process and through Ms. Todd constantly pushing it and constantly telling us, yes, this is, we want to try it, this is what it can do, I slowly gave in. She ended up doing a guest lesson for my class and introduced a hand sign. And the agree hand sign is what we use now. And my kids just loved it. And they were taking off on it. And I would ask a question, a student would reply, and they were doing it on their own. So I was like, wait a minute, we might be onto something here. Let me try that.
It was a whole culture change that took that leadership of Sylvia to believe in Rhonda, and then for Rhonda to be able to convince the rest of the teachers in a way that was inspiring to change the way they all teach now. So now they have a school-wide effort, K-8. Pace Academy is the other school that I think one of the great stories of theirs is the story of stability. That the teacher leaders in these positions have been with us since the beginning of the grant, which makes a huge difference. And again, may seem like a small point, but in charter schools, it's not very typical that people stay. So Stephanie, the PLC leader, and Benita and Michelle, the mentors, have been people who, again, have changed their practice, who have helped really transform the way that the school thinks about teaching. And so, and I think the story of Benita Deer, who is an exceptionally talented teacher, who had come into teaching later, so really didn't have this discussion-based teaching in her repertoire, but just soaked it up like a sponge and absolutely changed the way her kids learn and the way that she teaches.
If I'm allowing my students to talk about math, and if I give them an assignment, something to solve in the classroom, they are engrossed in that learning. They don't really have time to do other things that are an obstacle or a hindrance to learning. And so really it is me teaching my students and then allowing them to have conversations about that teaching and that learning. And so they have conversations in my classroom about the concepts that we're talking about. It's me more so facilitating their learning and letting them talk about it, letting them share their ideas. It's them showing respect for the opinions of others, because they learn more from listening to the conversations that they have amongst themselves than always listening to me. And so I try to give them opportunities to talk about the concepts that I'm teaching about.
When we were coming up, it was always rows in a straight line, and you just taught to a class. It was more of a lecture style. But now you want to start to to work with what society is building. And society is built off of friendships and cultivating those friendships and dialoguing with one another. And as you already know, it's not what you know these days, it's who you know. And you won't know anybody unless you're talking to them. I believe that the things that you guys are providing for us in turn, and we're delivering to our teachers, who in turn deliver to our students, is the right way to go. Discussion-based teaching is a wonderful thing. Students learn from their personal experiences, the experiences of others, and I think it's right on track with where we need to be in the new millennium.